This is Edward Softwater for A&N News on July 6, 1854. We are trying to catch Mr. William Lloyd Garrison, editor of the Liberator newspaper, to see if we can get him to say a few words on the wheelings and dealings in slavery in Washington. Mrs. Throbbins, could you find Mr. William Lloyd Garrison, please?
Mr. Garrison, coming up.
Thank you. Mr. Garrison, Edward Softwater, A&N News.
How do you do?
Please take a seat. What's with the umbrella?
You never know.
Ah.
It might rain.
Well, anyway, I have a few questions about slavery and some of the compromises that have been made in Washington. What do you think
I'll tell you what I think. The Missouri Compromise was a deal for the South. The Compromise of 1850 to get slavery banned in Washington, D.C., and an unenforceable fugitive slave law passed, and the Kansas-Nebraska Act, while it gave in to those threatening Southern senators and repealed the 36-30 Missouri Compromise line on ban on slavery. I'll tell you, with each one of those, this country gave up some liberty.
So then you must disagree with the Constitution. There have been many compromises about slavery in that.
Yes, I do. The Constitution of the United States is a pro-slavery document. Well, just the other day, on July 4th, I was in Boston on downtown State Street, and I held up a copy of the Constitution, and I denounced it. I denounced it as a covenant with death and an agreement with evil. So perish all tyranny with compromises.
I see.
Let the people say amen.
Well, amen to that. Do you have a plan to be a preacher, or are you just organizing an uprising?
Oh, no, I'm not an organizer. I advance no plan, but let me read you what I wrote for the Constitution of the American Anti-Slavery Society. This was back in 1833. I helped organize that group. The object of this American Anti-Slavery Society is the entire abolition of slavery in the United States. It shall aim to convince all our fellow citizens by arguments addressed to their understandings and consciences that slaveholding is a heinous crime in the sight of God, and that the duty, safety, and interest of all concerned require its immediate abandonment without expiation.
Okay, well, where do you go from there?
Well, I will denounce any church that disagrees with me, and I will continue to train abolitionist speakers. The time now, the choice for this country is either slavery or disunion.
Well, what exactly do you mean by that?
I mean to say, if those Southern gentlemen want to continue to force slavery, it's time for the North to succeed from the South.
I see. Yes, I see. I heard you taught Frederick Douglass your style of speech.
Yes, I did. And I introduced him to some of the Massachusetts abolitionists. He became a fine, fearless speaker. Started his own newspaper, you know, the North Star.
Yes. I'm afraid to ask you this, but is there anything else you'd like to say on slavery before we sign off?
Yes, there is. I'd like you to read you what I wrote in the first edition of the Liberator. I wrote this on January 1st, 1831. I will be as harsh as truth, as uncompromising as justice on the subject slavery. I do not wish to think, speak, or write with moderation. No! Tell a man whose house is on fire to give a moderate alarm. Tell a mother to gradually extricate her baby from a fire from which it has fallen into. But urge me not to use moderation in a cause like the present. I am in earnest. I will not equivocate. Equivocate means to not be ambiguous or say something in softer terms. I will not retreat a single inch, and I will be heard. Is that clear?
It certainly is. You've certainly said a mouthful. Don't know what else there is to say.
I know what to say. Mr. Garrison, I would love to write for your paper. I would tell Congress not to appease those slaveholders any longer. It only makes them meaner and more aggressive. The only thing they understand is force. We need a civil war.
Miss Throbbins, with your tongue, there would be a civil war. Especially with an agitator like William Lloyd Garrison, self-educated in the cut-and-slash school of journalism. This is Edward Softwater, signing off and saying good night.
When Israel was in Egypt land, let my people go. Oppressed so hard they could not stand, let my people